Last lesson, what we did, we finished question words and started the singular part of female, male, masculine, feminine. And today, what I want to do is touch back on that, go do the plural. And I want to do it thoroughly. So we may do all of that, just that today. If I have time, we will move on to verbs or possessive. But yeah, this is probably, in terms of topics or items on the syllabus, the masculine, feminine, singular, and plural. That's probably the one that I'm gonna dwell on the most. Not because it's the most important, but it's because it's the most tricky. Which is why I want to do it slowly but carefully. Last week, we did the base. We started singular, but we did the base. I'm gonna write it down. So we did these last week. I'm gonna just do them real quick. Yud with 3 dots, Yeh, Lamed with 3 dots, Le, Yeh, Le. And then we have the Dalet at the end, Yeled. So, transliterated. We said this means either a boy or a kid who's male. Okay, and then, of course, we do the female right after. Yud with a patach, ya. We have the lamed with the 2 dots, yal. Daled with a kamatz, yalda. Hey, carrying the sound, yalda. Again, yalda. Means girl or a kid who's female. Why am I starting with this again? We said, we've been saying that for 8 lessons already now, that Hebrew is gendered. There is a difference between talking to a male, to a female, as a female, and groups. We've said that before. Starting with this, what I want to say is that most nouns, most words, in the most simple of ways, will have the same repetitive vowels, repetitive sounds. When you get into more extensive classes, you will get into the whole constructs and the molds and the patterns of the vowels. We don't need all of that goodness. It's, for our level, it's confusing. But for the most part, most words and nouns, for example, in female, will end in a sound. Okay, so you see it here, ah. While a male will end in a consonant sound. Okay, we said technically there's a shva here, or the 2 dots, that we don't need at the end of the letter. So this is probably the lesson I needed to prepare for the hardest in terms of reading up on the Hebrew Academy. Here's what the Hebrew Academy says. The way Hebrew works, good evening, ma'am. So just doing a refresher on last lesson. I'm getting into masculine, feminine on the singular level still. So the way Hebrew will act is that it will have the male form with the consonant at the end, and then the female form will build on top of it. Okay, so it never detracts in that sense. So always more, never less. We can see here, for example, yeled, and then the consonant, yalda. We added the hey, and we changed the voweling a little bit to fit grammatically or phonetically. And then we have the other gender. That was a lot of words. Was that understandable? So for the most part, this is what we're gonna have for the most part. Where's the tricky part starting? In the female. Okay, this is not to say that females are tricky, but this is how they built the language. So male, 99.9% will stay as is. What happens with the female? And this is where it gets to levels of tense and conjugation that we are not going to delve into. Last week, we spoke about American. I am American. And the difference how to say that is a male or a female. But it starts the discussion on how will the female form be tensed. There are three sounds. Start below, I suppose. But there are three sounds that the female words will repeat in their sound. So the first one is an ah sound at the end, okay? So let's say, for example, this is a variable x, okay? This is not aleph. Okay, variable x. But as you can see, this will repeat an ah sound at the end of female sound. Can I delete the top? I'm gonna write it at the top so everyone can see. But that's the one. We spoke about the second one when talking about nationalities. We said professions can also do the same thing. I'm gonna write both. Okay, ah, this is a variable x. We just seen the example, yalda, yalda. Okay, so that's an example. Another one will be eat. So variable x. Bless you. And then the chirik, the vowel making it sound like an eek, and sometimes you'll see it move to the yud, but for the sake of being repetitive. And then we give the example of American, right? That's a nationality. Down. Calculation space. Again, we're still on feminine, right? So America, eat. And you have it here, eat. Let's eat. Okay, so we said three sounds, eat, and this third one is it. Okay, I'm gonna write it down. So this is one, two. You can see it there. Three. So this is the variable x again. This is not a letter. But basically it. We have the three dots and then the taf. And three, we did not do it. So what I want to do today is practice all three. So we can hear the sounds repeat. Mind you, the male will stay the same. Okay. While the female can be either one of those, the male will stay the same. Just to make it easier. Let's do some examples. Can I erase the top? I'm going to start with examples of okay? So this first one here. Start with an easy one. This is one word. Okay, so we have two words here at the top. We should know this word. Anyone want to try and read it? Melech. Yeah, Melech, we had this example before. That means king. Now, how do I say queen? Malka. Malka, right? So Malka, then we know that as a name. Malka means queen. Okay? And we hear the sound here. You can see the voweling repeat, kamatz, followed by a hey carrying the sound, making it to end with an sound. Okay? Melech, we can hear the consonant here. Malka, we can hear the ending okay? So this is obviously female way of saying king, which is queen. Can I erase two? Okay, I'm going to erase two and translate and transliterate. Yeah. So this is actually an easy example because these are professions, okay? King, queen. But regular words can also will have a gender. For example, this is a lamed, probably a little bit ugly, sorry. One example, I'm going to write another one. By all means, start trying to read in your mind. Who wants to try this one? Mila. Mila. Well done, sir. Very close. Well done. Mila. Again, repeating for the Zoom. Mila. Mila. We can see the ending That means word. Okay, so the actual word is female. Okay, I'm gonna translate right below it. Zoom. Mila, mila, which means word. Now we know that, well, this is a noun, but this mila is female. Why? Because of its sound, mila. When I speak Hebrew, it rings. It has a ring to my ear. I already automatically know it's female. Now there's no male version of the word word. So many a times what you'll get is that some words just that's how it is. Okay, this word is female, this word is male. Some words are both. We'll see that today. Okay, word mila. Continuing on to the next example. Anyone want to try? Kita. Well done, man. Kita. Kita means classroom, or just class. But then to remove doubt, I say classroom because it speaks about the room. Well, not necessarily. Sometimes if you're a teacher, oh, my class are the greatest, kita sheli. Yeah, it can also mean just your class. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm gonna translate and transliterate. So does this help you when I write this? Sometimes when I know it's kita, I'll add like an AH in comparison to just like this. So how does it sound more right to you? Kita with an H or with? Okay, so that's what it sounds like to me too. But yeah, I remind us there are no rules for transliteration. Yeah. So it can also, it can mean class, or it can also mean classroom. But class is also a female word, right? Because it ends in a sound. Okay, kita, mila, malka. Last week we said flight, tisa. Tisa, flight, is also female. Let's write it down. Then erase melech. For example, let's write this. Okay. Tisa, I'm gonna erase malka. Another example. So we already know this means flight, tisa, flight, tisa. I'm gonna transliterate below it. Means flight. Space on this board. We said we had examples. Hatisa, the flight, be yom revi'i, on Wednesday, so on and so forth. Which leads me to the next example. Anyone want to try and read it? It's a little bit harder. Tmuna. Well done, sir. Tmuna. Again for Zoom. Tmuna. Tmuna means picture. So not a picture in the sense of, oh, take a picture of me, but in terms of a painting or an image. Does that make sense? I'm gonna erase classroom and write below it. Sure. And we can hear already the ah sound. Munna, munna. So to me, speaking Hebrew, I'll understand immediately this is a female word. Okay? Tisa, mila. We'll get to it. Any questions about this?
Just a curious question. Brit Mila.
Brit Milah. So actually, to circumcise, la mul, which in this sense, Milah is a separate word than Mila,
Okay.
in this sense. La mul, to circumcise, we understand it as, it kind of stands on its own, you know, sir?
too difficult.
But I'm gonna write it down to remove doubt about it being separate from just word. It is, but I'm not sure if it's derived or, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'll make sure, let me write it down real
Thanks.
quick. Yeah. But yeah, I will say to remove a doubt when it's alone, it's definitely just means word. Good evening, sir. Any other questions about this on Zoom? You look like you have a question, man. And I will say on Zoom, sometimes I won't hear you. Definitely just barge in. Re-watching the classes, I notice some people, sometimes they'll try to say something a little bit, but I can't really hear. Because, yeah, the volume is low, but definitely barge in. Just try to maybe yell at me. That's fun. Let's see if I have any other examples I wanted to do.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's certain words that we think of as masculine, such as president of the country, right?
Mhm.
Assuming that Hebrew word that is masculine.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happens when there's a female president?
Well, that's a very good question. Let's do that. Let's see. I'm gonna erase the top so we can practice that. I don't know if on Zoom you heard the question. The question was president, obviously in Hebrew, will have both a female and a male version. I'm saying, but there's a way to do that because again, professions can be served by either a male or a female. But and then again, you'll have words where just female, right, or just male. But professions and nationalities and occupancies and
If you're gonna get to that later, that's fine.
no, that's actually a very good time to dwell on it, man. Thank you for that question. It's a very good question. So president. Dot on the left. This is male. And we did say the way Hebrew works is that the female builds on the male. Okay, so I'm gonna do the female here. Dot on the left. Yes, sir, you're saying something? Awesome. We'll see other examples. Anyone want to try and read this? Nasi, well done, Nasi. So that means president. I'm going to translate and transliterate. Okay, Nasi, which means president, who's a male. And easy enough, this should be easy after reading the mail. Anyone want to try? Nasi'a, well done, ma'am. Nasi'a, which means president who is female.
No? Well.
So I will say this is a very good example of how it'll just build on the male because Aleph is a silent letter, so it's very simple to just add the hey and the kamatz. In the male, you may notice we're hearing an e at the end, right? Technically, this Aleph is still silent, and also this has a phonetic reason that the word nasi comes from, it is derived from the word to carry. okay, to a load on your back or something. So this is actually, sorry? Yeah. So it has a lot of vowels. Phonetically, it'll act weird. We've seen that before with other examples, but for the sake of nasi, nasi'ah. Any questions of that on that? Any?
The little the T looking, is there a name for that? Underneath the owl,
The kamats here,
how do you say it?
kamats. But again, sir, it doesn't matter if you remember it or not. So you'll have the one line. That's patach. That's kamats. Does that make sense, sir?
Yeah, I wanted to say it. It's an
Yeah. It does sound like the way that it sounds, kamats, patach. It says the sound, but again, it's useless to remember the name, sir. Just remember the function is better. Does that help? Any other questions on Zoom, classroom? Awesome. So this is the base conjugation, so to speak, quote unquote, sound versus the consonant. The was one of the ways to femalize a word. I'm gonna move to the other examples. I'm gonna erase the board. But this is the first one out of three. The second one we said was eat. We said Ani America, eat. I'm American, who's female. What did Rick asked a good question. Another profession earlier in the class. Fireman versus firewoman. Kabai, kaba, eat. Let's delve into those. Can I erase the top and everything here? I do wanna, maybe before I do that, I do wanna there it's in my workbook or another workbook, the presentation real quick. So this is the Hebrew Academy website. You should be seeing it now. This is one out of 40 tabs that I deleted. It relates to female versus male. You see et and eat that we're gonna do today. Why am I showing you this? To show you that there are a lot more. There is a lot more here, okay? Second thing, why am I showing you this? Because, and we'll see it more when we get to plural, but genderizing the language is kind of a modern invention. What I mean by that is that the ancient Hebrew did have genders, it just wasn't persnickety about distinguishing them. So even when reading the Torah, for example, you'll see many a times something referred to as female, something referred to as male, and it wouldn't make sense in today's Hebrew. It does in back then Hebrew. The creator, for example, you see it one time they're referring to him as male, one time as female, one time as both, a plural. Maybe we'll get to an example. I'm gonna erase that. But in essence, this means we have a lot of irregulars. Many a times, just a single word will act differently because of how it's built, because of the historical background, because of how it sounds. And then just that word will behave that way and not of any of the other words. Point being, yeah, we have irregulars. This is why I dwell on it now more. And also keep in mind, Israelis mistake this a lot, okay? Me too, I mistake this a lot, speaking fast. You will have people being persnickety, oh no, you should use this. Okay, sure, but in terms of being understood, we will mix this up. Let's see here. Sorry, sir. Okay, we have two examples. The top one is male. Second one is female. So this is a profession. This is a question asked by Rick back then. How do you say firewoman versus fireman? Okay, I'm gonna transliterate the first one. Missed the dash here. Habai. Habai. Kabai. Like this. Kabai. Sounds about right? Kabai. Means fireman. Okay, and then we have the other example of a final sounding female word. Again, this is the same profession, except this time female. Ka, ba, it. Well done, sir. Well done. Kabait. Again, kabait. Okay, and then we see eat here, eat. Eat. Another example we spoke about last week is okay. We should know this one. Anyone want to try and read it? Americait. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well done. Americait. Okay, we have the ending eat. Let's see, where do I have room to transliterate? Okay, which means an American who's female. Okay, male Americai. So without the top. And again, we did this example. Let's do another example of this sort. Can I raise the top?
Do they refer to women in Israel as fire woman?
Yep. Or firefighter. There's also, but fighter is not relevant to my current example. We'll get to fighter when we get to the third example. But yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did you still need this, Americite? Another example, both male and female. Okay, anyone want to try and read the male version? Rakdan, Rakdan, well done, man. Rakdan. Okay, we have the resh with the kamat, making it a ra. We have the kuf with the two dots, tva, making it a no vowel sound, meaning rak so far. And then we have the dalid with the kamat again, rakda. And we have the final noon sofit, rakdan. Well done. And transliterate, which means dancer. Okay, who's a man. Dancer. Okay, who's a man. Female example, again, it means dancer, except female, but how do we say it? Rakdanit, well done, sir. Rakdanit, again for Zoom, Rakdanit. And we hear the eat sound again at the end. Okay, dancer who's a female. Just to circle back on it, male, rakdan, rakdan, dancer, female, rakdanit, rakdanit, dancer, who's a female. Okay, while you guys are writing, I'm gonna refer to my other examples here. Okay, have a few good ones. I'm gonna erase the top and give us another example. Can I erase the female version too?
Female version is always longer than the male.
Yes, sir, because it only adds, it never subtracts from the male. Mind you, yeah, Hebrew was invented when there actually was a patriarchy. Yes, sir. And it kind of gets weird in needing to explain it because we really don't think about it that way. I will say that's also why nowadays there are many Israelis who insist on pluralizing in the feminine way. So yeah, that's why a lot of Israelis insist on pluralizing nowadays in the feminine way. We will see it later in the class, but it's out of fighting what's stuck, right? The whole inequality thing. Next example. Male. The dash and the pay, making it a pay. Oh. Female. Okay, anyone want to try and read the male? Sapar, well done, sir. Well done, sapar, sapar, which means barber or hairdresser. Sapar, hairdresser or barber. So I will say technically when speaking about a male, we'll understand it's a barber. If we're talking about a female, we'll understand it's a hairdresser, just because it works better for female, though there are female barbers. So barber. And it can be hairdresser, who's male. Barber. Sapara. Okay. Female example. Saparit. Well done, sir. So it's the same word, sapar, except we're adding to it the it. Okay. And we just said the female always adds to the male, never subtracts from it. See the eat. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, awesome. So if there are no questions about that, I'd love to get to our last example and get to plural while I still have time to do it today. Again, if I don't finish, I'll continue next week. We're still in good time. But if there are no questions about this on Zoom in the classroom, I am gonna move on to the third female sound. We said we have three, we did two, and eat. Now we're gonna do the third. I'm gonna erase the board. So the third sound for female words is it, meaning it ends in an it. Can I erase the other? Yes, sir. Do that fighter example. Okay, so just to circle back again before we dive into this example, three sounds to make a word female. Okay, again, ending with a, ending with it, two examples we just did, and the last one which we are now tackling ends in an it. Okay, it. This also speaks to professions, occupancies, nationalities, depends on which one. These are phonetical changes. Okay, so the reasons for these. Why do we have three examples for female? Because different words will have different phonetic ways that it works. Continuing on, male example. Anyone want to try and read it? Lochem. Well done, ma'am. Lochem. Again for Zoom, lochem, which means either a combatant or a warrior. In this case, a male. But for example, if I'm a soldier in Israel and I'm a combatant soldier, ani lochem. Ani lochem. I am a combatant. So we're going to write it down. Which again, modern nowadays we will understand as combatant. It can also mean warrior. Let's write it down. Also mean warrior in the right context. Any questions? Okay, lochem. And then, for example, firefighter. You remember how anyone remember how we say fire? Ish. So just, I'm gonna write it down here. This is an ugly aleph, but this means ish, E-S-H, ish. Means fire. Ish. When I say lochem ish, I know it's firefighter. Okay, so I guess yeah, it can also mean fighter. Lochem ish, firefighter. Versus the female. Anyone want to try and read it?
Lochemet.
Well done, Jason. Thank you. Lochemet. Well done. And we can hear the et sound in the end. I'm going to transliterate. Okay, et at the end. Which will mean the same thing, combatant, warrior, fighter, except this time it's female. And there are many female combatants. Okay, I myself had a few female soldiers, great soldiers actually. Yeah, females need to want it because males, if you're able-bodied, yeah, you're gonna be a combatant and need to kind of drop out. Females need to choose to become combatants, which is why female combatants are always a lot more ferocious than men. Putting that aside, lochemet, lochemet. Well done, Jason, again. And we hear the et sound at the end. Okay, so just to hone it all in, we had 3 sounds in which female words end. Okay, one of them now we're learning is et, and we did the it and a. Okay, malka, Amerikait, lochemet. Any questions about this? I'm gonna do another example. One I think Dr. Silver will appreciate. So this is not, if I write it here, do you see it still? I'm gonna write another example. This one is dedicated to all the doctors in the class. Oh. Wow. Anyone want to try and read this? Anyone want to try? Daleket. Well done, sir. Daleket. Shall I write it up there? Or can you still see it? Yeah. Daleket. Again, for Zoom, daleket, I'm gonna write it down, which means inflammation. So surprisingly enough, I was just talking to Kara about this yesterday. Inflammation in English comes from the word flame, right? The whatever part of the body is under, it's inflamed, it's heating up or whatever. In Hebrew, it's the same. The word daleket is derived from the word leka, which means it's not necessarily a fire, it's an eruption of fire. But yeah, so for the sake of the matter, it's the same play on words. Daleket, it's inflamed. So something, the part of the body is inflamed. I'm gonna write translation. So inflammation. Quads exercise. I think I wrote it right? Inflammation. Sorry, ma'am? Here?
M.
2 M's?
No, but I was not sure.
I can spell inflammation.
Where else?
Limbs.
2 M's? Okay. Thank you for that, ma'am. 2 M's. Okay, inflammation. Any questions on inflammation? Daleket. Okay. Can hear the et sound.
On the lochemet, there is no cough on the K in the transliteration.
So KH I have here. Where is it? Lochemet. So K with the H, sir. Maybe what here when I said, but this is how I will transliterate het. So this letter. What a lot of people will do wrong, we said is CH or just an H. But to remove doubt, what I do is KH, and that's also how the Hebrew Academy instructs to transliterate. But lochemet. Does that make sense right now?
Yeah, I just was going to pervert.
So yeah, I'll supplement het with KH. So both of them together. Okay. So lochemet. Lochem. But we can hear the sounds, right? Lochem ending with a consonant. Lochemet, daleket. Can you hear that? Let's see if I have another interesting one. Okay. 2 more examples. And then I'll move on to plural. Can I erase everything? I'm gonna do one example of a profession, which means it has a male and a female, and then just a word. We have the pay without the emphasis, making it sound like an F. Female version. Again, pay without the emphasis. Okay. Anyone want to try and read? Male? Sofer, writer or author. Sofer. Or someone who's counting, but in this case, that's making it a verb in the sense of the profession. Sofer. Means writer. Author. And lo and behold, surprise, surprise, the next one is the same one, writer or author, except female. How do we say it? Soferet. Well done, sir. Soferet. Okay, which means writer or author, except this time it's female. Soferet. And we can hear the et at the end. Okay. Another example, this is just a noun. Okay. I'm gonna do this one with you. Okay, this one. We have the chet, followed by the cholam here, the vav with the dot, making it the cho, cho. We have the bet without the emphasis, or the vet without the emphasis, making it sound like a V, cho ve. And we have the three dots, so cho ve. We have the resh with the three dots, so choveret with a dot. Choveret, choveret, which means workbook. Okay. Workbook, choveret. And here the et at the end. Okay, sorry. Workbook, choveret. Okay, so the word for workbook is female in Hebrew. But yeah, so again, and I know I've said this, I'm trying to repeat it as much as possible to get it in there, but the male stays as it is, the female adds to the male without never detracting, always adding. But in essence, we have three sounds, okay, about how a word that is female sounds. We now learn the third, et, at the end, soferet, choveret, galeket. The other ones are and it. We said tmuna, kita, mila, amerikait, kabait, and so on and so forth. Are there any questions about this on Zoom, in the classroom? Okay, awesome. So while you're finishing writing, I'm gonna gaze at my notebook here. But in essence, what I want to do is move to the plural. And I want to remind us that the sounds will repeat, okay? If we did pronouns, was it last class or like lesson before that? We learned ani, ata, at, anachnu, hem, hen. So those sounds will return. We will see them again. When we'll start tense verbs according to the right way of what we're trying to say. Possessive and pluralization. I did say last week, I think, that these are topics that should come together. There's no feasible way of teaching them together. So I kind of put it one after the other. I'm gonna erase the board, but what I'm gonna do now, I'm actually gonna keep those two examples just for the sake of the pluralization. But what I'm gonna do now is, yeah, so we did the singular, masculine and feminine. Now I want to do plural, masculine and feminine, okay? So a group. Erase חוברת. Never mind. Okay, so how do we pluralize? Okay, so we said sofer, that's author or writer. How do we say authors or writers? If they're all male, what we're gonna do is gonna add an im, okay? I'm gonna add a sofrim. Transliterated. See the im at the end, okay? Writers. Or authors. Okay, since this is a male example, pluralization to multiple authors, assuming they are all male, sofrim, ending im. Okay, now we have soferet, female writer. How do I pluralize females? This is actually easier than singular. Sorry?
Sofera team?
So, almost, Jason. But so the female actually behaves slightly different. I'm gonna. That was a good comment. Thank you for that. Please don't be discouraged. Everything's fine. I'm gonna change it. Sofrot.
Soferot.
Well done. Ot. I'm gonna transliterate. See the ending ot. Okay. Multiple males ending in im, multiple females ending in ot. Okay, so this will mean the same thing, writers and authors, except females. So חוברת, which we just had, is a female word, right? I'm gonna write it down. We said workbook. How would I say workbooks? Because yeah, and this is a female. חוברות. Okay, חוברות. I'm gonna transliterate. Okay, ending ot. Specifically, there are no male workbooks. So there's no male version. Workbooks, you see that? Yeah. Chovrot. Yeah. Fix the Hebrew here. Chovrot. Way. Okay. So there will be a play on the vowels to make it sound better for the Israeli here. Chovrot. Okay. One workbook, choveret. Plural workbooks, chovrot. Okay. You can hear ending ot. Ita, classroom or class. Kitot. Mila, milot. Actually, mila specifically can go either or milim or milot. But what else did we do? Tisa, flight. Tisot, flights. Can I erase the top and write all of that down? So I don't want to, it's not that I get stuck on the female on purpose. It's just that the male is easier. I do want to touch on the male as well. Do a few examples. Okay, so examples we did already, okay? We have melech. We just spoke about it earlier. Female, malka, malka. Melech, we know it. King. How do we know king? How do we say kings? Actually, I think we should know it from Torah too. Anyone remember? Melachim. Well done, sir. I'm gonna write it down. So melech melachim means king of kings, right? Melachim. Melech. Melech. Okay, so king versus kings. We can hear the ending im. Let's transliterate. Very awesome calculation of space. This is an H here. Can you understand this? Melachim, kings, okay, plural king, kings. Okay, which leads me to malka. Anyone want to think how that will pluralize? Exactly, malkot. Okay, but malchot will also work. Malkot, I'm gonna write it down. Transliterated, the malkot, queens. The plural queen, queens. If we're talking about actual queens in Hebrew, we'll just say queens. So the place. But yeah, queens, malkot, malka, single queen. Malka Esther, Queen Esther, so on and so forth. Let's do another example that we did. All right.
Matani,
Yes, Jason,
I have a question.
please.
So Navi is prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Nevi'im is prophets, plural.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that female of prophet is Nabia.
Yes, sir.
So what is the plural of female prophet?
Neviot. Let me write it down. I'm gonna write it down here.
Okay.
And can I erase Malka and do the female just singular? So I'm going to erase Malka, and so this is Neviot, plural prophets. I'm going to write the singular above it. And again, without the dictionary in front of my face, I could be wrong on one or two of the vowels, but Nevi'ah. As you said, well done, Jason. Nevi'ah, that's singular female prophet. Nevi'ot, plural female prophets. Let's write that down. Can I erase here? Eraser. Nevi'ah. Versus ot, neviot. You can see and hear ot versus the sound, which means female prophets. Neviot, female prophets. Plural. Did that answer, Jason?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that question. But again, as you can see, what I'm trying to exhibit here is that the sounds repeat. Okay, melech, melachim, nevi'ah, nevi'ot. Okay, versus, because let's do the male, just because prophet is also can also be a male. Let me erase the top and do it. How do I say male prophet? Navi, Navi. Navi, that's a male prophet. Singular. Plural, right down here. Nevi'im. Okay, Nevi'im, and the transliteration means male prophets that are more than one, so plural. Okay, but in essence, again, reiterating, im ending sounds is plural for male. Okay, melech, single king, melachim, multiple kings. Malka, single queen, malkot, plural queens. Nevi'ah, female prophet, Navi, male prophet. Nevi'im, plural male prophets, Nevi'ot, plural female prophets. So ot, im. Okay, and I want you to remember these sounds, okay, because they will recur when we are doing verbs, okay? So for example, we are walking, אנחנו הולכים. Okay, why הולכים? It's you can hear the ending im because it's plural and assuming we're both male. Sorry, ma'am, are you having a hard time saying something? Okay. Okay, so ot, im, that immediately tells us there's something here that's either plural female or either plural male. These sounds will return when we do verbs, okay? For example, ani holech, I am walking as a male. Ani holechet, we'll get to it more thoroughly, but just to ready us, I am walking and I'm a female. Anachnu holchim, we are walking. Anachnu holchot, we are walking, so female. We will get to it. Those are verbs, we'll get to it thoroughly. But is that understood? Okay, we need to remember these sounds, they will return. Let's do some irregulars. Now, again, I do want to say, while you're writing, Israelis will mix these up. Okay, genders are the parts that Israelis mix up the most, even adults. Okay, so not just kids, all everyday Israelis mix up genders, especially when going back and forth multiple single. And again, ancient Hebrew and the plural side did not have the distinction between males and females. That's a modern addition. Okay, so that has created a lot of irregulars. It also made it so it's very hard to speak grammatically correct. It sounds weird when someone speaks grammatically correct because we just don't. Okay? Which is why I don't teach you. Again, if there's something I don't want you to learn wrong, I will point it out. But that's why many a times I will opt out of, oh, yeah, let's read the long definition and the rule that will have 14 million exceptions. Does that all make sense?
The Torah must be hard to differentiate.
So in the Torah, it doesn't differentiate, sir. Unless it differentiates in the context. Let's actually, there's a good example. Let's do a few examples. Okay, so I'm going to show you why they translated the word Lord wrong. Okay. Now, again, we're not supposed to write the creator's name unless for education. So I hope this passes. But yeah. I'm going to write Lord. I'm going to write female Lord. Okay, let's do the plural right next to it. So this is, I'm going to transliterate. Mer consonant ending and eat ending. Okay, it's a profession, technically, a lordess. So duchess. But so there is actually a separate word for duchess, but so adonit means lordess, I guess. How do we do the plural? Okay, adonim, multiple male lords. Plural female. Okay. Anyone want to try and read this? Sorry. Adoniot. Okay. So if adonit is female, what they did is remove the taf and add ot. Okay. Adoniot. I'm just getting, sorry, it takes breaking down before I explain to you why they translated Lord wrong in the Bible. Yot. Okay. How do I say my Lord? Okay. And again, we did not get the possessive, we will. Can I use the top? Anyone want to try and read it? Adoni. Almost. Adoni. Okay. And then so my female lord will be Adoniti. Again, this is a weird one. We don't really use this word, but for the sake of staying consistent. Don't write this second one. Adoniti. Okay, like Shali. It comes from there. Adoniti. Again, we did not do possessive yet. We will. How do I say multiple my lords? You just said it? Adonai. Adonai is my multiple lords. Okay. And you see it in the Torah, right? The creator is referred to as a multiple in deity. No, it's not in the sense that creator is one, but he is everything. So for the sake of writing it down, that's how it became Adonai. But in essence, the core of it is female, male, singular, and plural, right? Again, biblical is a little bit harder, which is why you see me struggle with rare words that, again, we will not use in Hebrew in this way nowadays. How much time do I have? Okay, good. I will do another example. 2 examples. But yeah, this is how we got to Adonai being my Lord, but it's really not my Lord. It's my multiple lords. But in English, they got it into singular. Can I erase the board? Okay. So we did say it created a lot of irregulars. And this is good. These examples are going to show you why I really don't need you to remember exactly how to exactly to get it right. Okay, we're talking about female and males. You can get it wrong. What do I not want you to get it wrong? Is the sound. Okay. 2 examples. We should know that first example. Anyone want to try and read it? Chaim. Chaim. Well done, sir. Chaim. Which means life. Chaim. When I say Chaim, I know it's a name. I have an uncle Chaim. I say Chaim instead of Chaim. I know it's a name rather than just life. Chaim is both, okay? Female and male. So it's both sexes. And it's plural from its creation. So life is, and you can hear the end im here. So this word is plural. So it's also female and male, even though it stands alone. Chaim, life. Any questions on that? On Zoom? Good. So that's an easy irregular. It's just a word that's both. There are others. The second word is more interesting. Anyone want to try and read it? The kaf with the dot inside. Kiseh. Kiseh. Well done, everyone. Kiseh. Kiseh. Which means chair. Means chair. Now, you may notice it ends in a consonant sound, right? Kiseh, which means it's male. It's a male word. How do I pluralize it? Let me write it down. Sorry, rewriting. Anyone want to try to read now? Kisaot, well done, man. Kisaot, well done. So, so plural chairs, kisaot, chairs. I write down. And boom, we get to a very common irregular. So we just said this is a male word. Why isn't it kisaim? Why is it kisot? The answer is this word came from Aramaic. It's specifically this word came from Aramaic. It did not originate in Hebrew in this form, which is why it conjugates to plural differently. Okay, there are other examples. Can I erase the top and write some? Maybe in 5 minutes. I'm going to do this one and summarize there, I think. Dot on the right, making it sh. Anyone want to try and read it? Shulchan, well done, which means table. Sorry, some calculation space. Shulchan, table. How would I say multiple tables? Hint, yeah, this is an irregular. Dot on the right. Okay, anyone want to try to read it now? Shulchanot, well done, ma'am. So, shulchanot, multiple tables, let's write it down. Tables, plural. And again, same thing, but we can see shulchan ending in a consonant sound, right? So why is it not shulchanim? Why is it shulchanot rather than shulchanim? Again, the word is foreign. I don't know specifically that it came from Aramaic, this one, and maybe it could have come from Arabic. But yeah, so the origin is different. So what happened is that the pluralization in ancient times was different, and henceforth across time and history changed different. I will say shulchanim will work. People will understand it, though it's wrong. Okay, it will work. Again, I'm not trying for you to learn how to be persnickety here. Oh, you just said something not grammatically correct. No, I need you to remember the sounds because they'll repeat. Okay, and catching them will help you remember them, and help you understand and be understood. That's about all the examples I can fit in today. It's 8:27, so I'll summarize here, and I'll refer to my workbook, to my presentation real quick. Okay, so I am going to send you all of these. I send you everything. I don't know if you saw in the email I sent, but page 31 had mistakes on it. Page 31. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines did not translate and transliterate well. For the life of me, I remember fixing it, but it probably didn't save before I sent it out to print. I did send you a corrected page 31 via email. Okay, so up to dog, kelev here from below, it's fine. But these lines, the translation and transliteration is wrong, didn't get saved. But I sent it to you via email, the corrected one. Forgive me, yeah, 2026 will be better. Yeah, so this presentation you will receive via email. I intentionally kept all the pronouns here on the presentation, so you'll have them moving on, because again, as I say, the sounds will repeat, okay? So the pronouns are kind of like a baseline of sound moving forward, okay? The pronouns, ani, ata, at, anachnu, hem, hen. We will see it moving on to verbs. Remember, today we spoke about female and male. We continued from singular to plural. In general, there are irregulars. The female will build on the male. It will never subtract. And there are 3 sounds for female, only 1 for male, ending in consonant for male. Sorry, et, it, and a for female. So malka, amerikait, kita, tmuna, tisa, malka, and so on and so forth. Remember those, they will return. I feel like we did that pretty thoroughly. In terms of, yeah, so I fixed it here, actually, here too, in the presentation. Tisa, tisot, we did flights, kartis, kartisim, tickets, do them by all means. For next lesson, those of us who didn't do, but by all means, let's do 30 to 38. 38, you may notice the 37 and 38 already start verbs. That's intentional because I want you to have something in your brain before I delve into it. But basically, if you watch on the if you look at the workbook on page 38, for example, what happens that we have singular male, singular female, plural male, plural female, and the infinite, okay? So that's kind of what I try to follow till the end of the class so we can complement sentence building. I will stop sharing here. But as you can see, the stuff we're learning builds up onto itself. This is where I do want you to dwell and get this right, not necessarily on the names but definitely on remembering the sounds. Let's see if I'm forgetting anything. I will make sure about Brit Milah, the circumcision. And unless anyone has any questions, I think that's me for today. Definitely, for the love of God, watch the movies, series, videos, and music. I am going to send a new one Karen and I just saw. I think it's called 7 Figures. It's on Amazon, I think. It's actually pretty good. It has a lot of the stuff we learned, definitely this year and last year. So you can hear it. You can hear how Israelis use it. It's important. Sorry, that was long. I'm still here organizing the class. If anyone has any questions, I'm here by all means. Other than that, I think Stephanie, ma'am, we're good here and we can stop recording. And thank you everyone for coming this evening.